welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, welcome. My name is Christine. So I got a new lens. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm filming in my room, and back here it makes everything look so blurred out and really nice. So I'll link all of my camera info and stuff like that down below in the description box if you guys are interested. Today I'm going to show you guys how I edit my Instagram photos, and this has been highly requested. I'm also going to show you guys my favorite apps that I like to use and stuff like that. So if you guys are interested in seeing how I edit my videos, first make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and the little notification bell, and let's go ahead and get into the video. I just realized I wasn't screen recording on my phone. Here, fix this lump right there. Add some more volume right here. Okay, so I'm back and we are refilming. This is the third time that I've had to refilm this, so hopefully this one works out. Here we have this picture and it is a little bit dark, so we're gonna kind of lighten it up a little bit. If I feel like a photo needs to be Facetuned, I'll go into Facetune first. I have all my camera apps in here, and I have Facetune 1 and 2, but number 2 is actually my favorite because it just gives you a little bit more control, so I prefer having Facetune 2. So since I feel like this photo doesn't really need any Facetune, I'm just gonna go straight into my apps, and first thing I always do is go into Lightroom. And here there's a little photo button, so I'm gonna go ahead and upload that photo. Since I use Lightroom so much, I have created my own presets, so I have all my presets in here. So for this one, I might like the light bright portrait, and these are all presets that I made myself, and so I can teach you guys how to make it. It's really easy, but I'm going to show you guys how I do it from scratch. And one quick trick, especially if you don't want to start from nowhere, actually just go ahead and hit the auto button, and then from here I will kind of tweak it. So I think the blacks are a little bit washed out, so I'm going to go down to the blacks and darken it a little bit, 13, and then the shadows are a little bit too washed out, so I'm going to bring it down to, let's do 25. I like the whites to be super bright, so I'm going to leave it at around 60. Perfect. And then if you hold your finger over the photo too, you can kind of see like a good before and after. I'm gonna kind of play with the highlights. I almost always bring down the highlights in my photos. I just like the color that it gives it, so I'm gonna bring it down to about 27. Contrast, I think I like it where it is. We'll leave it at 16. And then exposure, I like my photos to be a little bit bright, but I don't want to wash it out either, so I'm actually gonna take it to around 20. Okay, so that looks good. We're gonna go over to color. And sometimes if a color is too warm or cool, I'll kind of fix it in here, but I think it's fine. I'm gonna leave it there. And sometimes I like to bring some more purple into my image. Like in this case, it is a little bit green, but I'm actually gonna leave it because I'm gonna take it through another app later on that kind of plays with the colors. Vibrance is at 11, so I actually like that. We'll leave it there. Actually I look a little orange, so I might bring it down. Let's bring it down to 1. Yeah, there's an effects button, and I really like this one, especially if your photo is kind of like washed out. You can play with the dehaze button, and it helps to bring a lot of color into your photos. Let's say in this case, I'll add 8 to it, and that kind of just brings a little bit more definition and color into the photo. Clarity, sometimes I don't really like it because it makes your skin look kind of unreal, but I actually really like it in this case. We'll do +2. Okay, so that looks good to me. Say I had like 2 or 3 other photos that I wanted to edit the same way. The reason why I love Lightroom is you can easily apply the same edit to multiple photos. So you could hit the 3 dots up here and hit copy settings, and then these are all the settings that we changed, so we go ahead and hit OK. So it copies all those settings, and the way that you apply it, I'll just give you guys an example. So this is a photo that I previously edited, so if I wanted to paste the settings onto the same photo, I would just hit paste settings, and it would go ahead and change the photo and apply that same edits, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. Also, if you guys wanted to create your own preset, and say you took a lot of the same photos and you don't want to go through and copy paste all the same photos all the time, you can create presets. It's easy for me to make presets and then just apply them to my photos and then tweak it from there instead of hitting auto every single time. So if I wanted to create my own preset, I would hit the 3 dots up here, and then there's a create preset button, and I would just hit create preset. You'd name it something, and then you'd hit that check mark, Oh, that's funny, it corrected to huh. And then it would appear in your preset button. So that's a really easy way if you guys want to apply the same filter to all of your photos, especially if you take a lot of like product shots or outfit pics or the same type of photos. It just is a really nice shortcut to do. I like the way that that looks. I'm going to go ahead and hit the square button, save to camera roll, and always the maximum available size, so that way we have a really high quality image. So we're going to hit save. Awesome. And then the next app I go into is this app called RNI Films. And I love this app, so I'm going to go ahead and upload that image that we just edited. Okay, and then my favorite filter is the Kodachrome 50s, but as you get to play around with it more, you kind of develop like a style and technique, and you kind of find like favorites that you like to use a lot of the time. So they have lots of really cool like vintage film looking filters on here. There's just a lot of filters on here, so you can kind of play around with it, but this is one of my favorite apps for editing. So I'm going to go in with my Kodachrome 50s. I just love the way that this looks, and I have done this to a lot of my photos, so it kind of just ties a lot of my photos in together. You can adjust the strength, so I kind of like it, since it is an outfit pic, I'm okay with it being a little bit higher, but if it was like a close-up of my face, I wouldn't want the strength to be super high. And then I want my photos to be a little bit brighter, so we're going to make this one up to 10, and then I'm going to increase the contrast. We'll do 30 for that. Okay, that looks good. And then clarity, we'll just do 8. Shadows, and I don't do the same edits every single time. It totally depends on the picture. I always bring up the shadows in this app too, just because I like the way that it really evens out a lot of the colors in this photo, so you don't have too many dark areas of the picture, if that makes sense. So I like to bring this one up just because I feel like it looks so pretty and light and bright. So I'll do plus 40 for that, and you can see right here there's so much of a difference. It just looks like it was a higher quality image to begin with. And then over here, this highlights is the same thing. It'll bring down the highlights of the photo, but I actually like the way that it is. I'm actually gonna just tweak it a little bit. We'll do 97. Yeah, so that looks good to me. And then if I wanted to adjust the warmth, you totally can here. So there's a pre-warmth and post-warmth button. I don't really know the difference, but I kind of just play around with both and see what looks best. So like in this case, I think the post warmth looks a little bit better, so I'm just going to make it a little bit cooler, bring out some more of the blues in here, and that is starting to look really, really cool. And then pre and post tint, you can add a green or purple tint to your photos, especially if your photo is a little bit greeny. You can just add a touch of purple, but in this case I'm just going to leave it because my filter already is kind of purpley, so I don't want it to be too much. If you wanted to add like a dust effect, this is one of my favorite apps to use it to, and you can just use the dice and change up where the little dust pieces are. So I'm actually kind of over that phase. I feel like too many people are doing it, so I don't like doing the dust in my photos anymore, so I'm just gonna leave it like that. There's also a grain here. If you guys wanted to add more grain to your filters, you could use, you just adjust the strength. Usually if I do it, I'll just do around 20 or 30, and then you can adjust the size of the grains as well, which is nice. So when I do it, I like to have the size of the grains to be really small and then the strength to be around there. So that's the grain if you wanted something, if you wanted that kind of effect, but I'm actually just gonna leave it kind of clean. I just have been more into the clean looking photos lately. So that's everything that I have edited for this. I really like the way that that looks, so I'm gonna hit this square, save to camera roll. Okay, and then this is the original, and then we have Lightroom and then RNI Films. And then if we wanted to do a selfie, let's say we'll edit this photo. First thing I will always do, especially if it's a face picture, I will go into Facetune. So I'm going to go into Facetune 2. Here we have an image that looks like this, and I would be okay with how this looks, but I just feel like I like to enhance the way that photos look, especially on my Instagram. So I always whiten the whites of my eyes, especially here. It just, hello? Especially in photos, it just makes your eyes pop so much more. So I'm going to go here with the whiten tool, and then in the whites of my eyes, I'm going to go ahead and highlight those areas. Okay, so that is what that looks like. And then you can hit this little square button to see like a before and after, and if you toggle between the whiten and the eraser, you can see what areas you have affected. So I accidentally highlighted under my eyes. We don't want to do that. Okay, so now we can see that's the area that we retouched. Now we're going to go over here and do this eye, and we're going to go ahead and highlight that same area. Okay, so that looks good to me. And then I'm gonna go ahead and bring it up to, I don't want it to look unnatural, so I'm just gonna leave it at 80. So that looks good to me. We're gonna go ahead and hit save. Here my teeth look a little bit gray, so I'm gonna go in with that whiten tool again, and we're just gonna highlight my teeth. And I don't want to do anything crazy because I don't want it to look unnatural. I just want to correct. So we'll bring it to about 36. That looks good to me. And then here I have a couple of blemishes that you can see, and if you don't really care about it, you can totally leave it. And sometimes I just like to leave the texture of my skin. I don't really like promoting that your face needs to look perfect and flawless and airbrushed all the time. I just think if there's things that you're insecure about it, go ahead and fix it. If you want to airbrush your entire face, go ahead and fix it. Like, just let people live their lives and do whatever they want to do. But this is just how I edit my photos, so you don't want to overdo it. But this is just like spots that I want to correct on my face, and this is just something that I like to do. So nothing crazy. We're just gonna go ahead and correct those areas. Okay, so that looks good to me, and then I don't want it to be super strong. I'm just gonna do about 65%. One thing that I also like to do, especially for these close-up pictures, kind of have like a gray shadow around my mustache area. Dark hair, probs. So I'll go in with that same smooth tool and just go over like my mustache, and then I'll bring it down to about 30, and that just kind of helps to even the area out and doesn't make it look so dark in that area. I like my eyes to stand out, so I'm going to go in with this detail tool, and we're just going to brush over my eyelashes and some of that eyeshadow. We're going to go over this highlight a little bit. Let's do my earrings, and then necklaces, and then the shirt. We'll do my rings as well. Okay, and then that looks good to me. I don't want it to look too crazy, so I'm just going to leave it at 50. So that is the before and after. And say I didn't like the shape of my hair, especially if you have your hair down and you have like weird lumps, you can fix that with the reshape tool. So I would go ahead and use the refine tool. The reshape tool does more, like it just moves more areas of the photo, so I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to use the refine tool and kind of make my hair look a little bit more voluminous. And then one trick that I also found that's really nice about Facetune 2 is you can use the restore tool, and that allows you to bring in whatever you brought out. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my ear area, just like any areas of my face that might have accidentally been affected. I don't want it to be like stretched out really weird. I just want only my hair to look edited. So there you can see my hair looks a little bit more voluminous. That you can see is the before and after. I feel like the eyes just makes such a big difference to brighten that eye area up. So I'm going to go ahead and save to camera roll. We're going to go straight back into Lightroom, and then over here I'm actually just going to apply a preset. So I'll show you guys how to do it if you had a preset already set for it. Play around with what I have. Okay, so I think I like this one the most, so I'm going to go ahead and apply that preset, and then I'm going to go into and kind of retouch anything else that I feel like needs retouching. So I'm going to brighten it up a little bit, and let's bring it to about 0.25. Contrast, we'll do -7. And then that red is kind of bright, so I'm going to go ahead and bring the vibrance down. And then the saturation also really affects the color, so I'm just going to leave it at, actually, we can do 3. Yeah, so that looks good to me. I'm happy with that, but if you guys don't want your colors to be as bright, you can just totally fix that here. And then, let's see, colors. So we'll do, then it is a little bit greeny, so I added a little bit of purple to it, and then I'm happy with the way that that looks, so I'm going to go ahead and hit that check mark, save to camera roll, and then we're going to go back into RNI Films, and say I had another photo from the set. Instead of going through and applying every single edit that we did in RNI Films to that picture, this app has a cool new feature where if you upload another picture, this is the picture we just uploaded earlier, so if we upload that, you can use last edits. So if you have multiple pictures from a set, you can just apply the same edits to those pictures, which is super, super nice. But since this photo is totally different than the last picture, this one requires different editing. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit back, discard. Okay, and we're gonna start from scratch for this one. See, I just love the effect that it does. It automatically dulls down that color so it's not too crazy. It makes my skin look a little bit more like contoured. So we're just gonna do 32 for that. We'll bring up the brightness. Actually, I'm fine with that. We're gonna increase the contrast a little bit. And you just kind of play around and see. So I actually like the way that everything else looks. I might brighten it up a little bit. And then increase the contrast a little bit. Yeah, so that looks much better. And I kind of want a more filmy effect to this, so I'm actually gonna add a little bit of a grain. So I'm gonna do, let's do 36 for this, and then we'll make the grain, size about 10. Okay, so that looks cool to me. I like that. And then if you wanted to add a dust too, you can do that. That looks kind of cool, so I'll kind of tone it down. I don't want it to be too intense. And then go ahead and save to camera roll. Okay, so now you have the 3 images. This is after Facetune, Lightroom, and then RNI Films. Love the way that this looks. And one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little film border around it, and my favorite apps for that is Unfold. I love that. And in here I'll show you guys how it works. In here there's all these different frames that you can use, so you can kind of just play around with it, see which ones you guys are looking for, see which ones you like. But I actually purchased FF1, and this is the one that has all those film borders and stuff like that. This is what a lot of people on Instagram use. And so we have like the Polaroids, there's this one that's really cute too. Since it's just one photo, I'm just gonna go ahead and use this filter. So you just tap on the center, and then we'll upload that picture that we uploaded earlier, and then we'll go ahead and save just that page. And there we have the final image. And then also, if you guys wanted to see other apps as well, I really like StoryLuxe. I just found this one recently, and this one has a lot of those really cool like film filters and stuff like that too. So I've used this one a lot as well, so you can kind of just play around with that and see what you like. That's how I edit my photos. Anyways, I hope you guys found this helpful. Make sure you follow me on Instagram so you can see all the photos that I post in there, and I would love for you guys to join the fam. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up before you leave, and I will see you guys next week. Bye guys.